Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. I'm Ashley Griffin, a Broadway performer, writer, and theater journalist. This is my co-host Poppy. If you're new here, welcome. Don't forget to click the subscribe button for more from your theatrical Hermione Granger. So many of you know that I had my first novel published last year, almost just about a year ago exactly. And I'm so excited to share with you that my second novel is being published this fall, which you can probably figure out because this is a cover reveal video. This book is particularly special and significant to me, and it actually came long before my novel, The Spindle, that was published last year. The novel is called Blank Page, and it actually started its life as a fun venture that I kind of wrangled my friends into right after I graduated from college. It was one of the first projects that I did in New York. And it was originally conceived as a web series that we fully filmed. And it's not out there because it ended up going on to have a new life as a pilot script, which has received a lot of attention and I'm in talks about. That's a whole other story that I can talk about. Let me know down below in the comments if you'd like to hear about what it's like pitching a television show and creating a show Bible and all that. But the story is very literary based. And I've always thought it would make a really good novel. And while I was in the process of pitching the pilot, I decided to start doing that concurrently to developing the project as a show. The piece is really near and dear to my heart. It's a concept and an idea that I love. I met some of my dearest friends through creating it and working on it. And I'm so excited that it's finally going to be out there for everyone to see. So let me share a little bit about the book. Here's the little blurb. Set in an ethereal bookstore where all of the employees are fictional characters who have yet to be written and must live a purgatory-like existence tending to the literary canon until their author shows up to claim them, Blank Page follows Paige, an intelligent young woman who is the only character to arrive in the store without any knowledge of her genre or story. Paige's appearance sends the world of the bookstore into a tailspin, causing the characters to question how much free will they have over their own lives, and threatening to destroy the very fabric of imagination. In this world, characters are far more complex than their archetypes would imply, and nothing is as black and white as it appears. Blank Page is a meta, genre-bending exploration of fate versus free will and the power of stories. The book is a YA novel, but I don't want to get too much into what genre it falls into. That's something to discover for yourself, and it's a very interesting exploration. It's being said that the closest comparison to Blank Page is The Never-Ending Story, and I could not be more honored by that comparison. It's definitely genre bending. It's definitely meta. It's not your traditional YA fare. But if you like something a little out of the box, like The Never-Ending Story, then this is the perfect book for you. In the bookstore, in addition to Paige, you'll meet lots of well-known literary characters that we all know and love, including the Cheshire Cat, the Velveteen Rabbit, Dracula, and many more, as well as a wide array of completely original characters that I hope you'll come to love as much as I do. So the genesis for this story came from a lot of different places. I think it had kind of been brewing in me for a really long time. And there's two things from my growing up that I think especially impacted it. When I was really little, I would go to a very special bookstore that was very small, and it specialized in children's and young adult and mid-grade books. So it was specifically for young people. But when you went in, it wasn't the sort of normal experience where you just sort of go in and wander and then get something or not. When you went in, you were specifically met by a salesperson who was assigned to you. And that salesperson would sit down with you and have a conversation with you. And they would ask not only basic things like, how old are you and what grade are you in, but what kind of stories do you love? What's your favorite thing that you've ever read? Tell me what you liked about this and what you didn't like about that. And then they would personally guide you through the bookstore and pick up books along the way that they thought would be perfect fits for you. They'd usually pick between 4 and 5 books, give them all to you, and then you had a minute to sort of look through them, read the back of them, see what intrigued you or not, and then you could get them. And that's one of the ways that I discovered some of the most meaningful stories to me growing up. It's how I first came to read The Giver, which I read 14 times in a row. I believe it's where I first got A Wrinkle in Time and so many other wonderful things. But that sort of magic of someone almost like a fairy-like person leading you through and finding a story that was perfect for you and exactly what you needed right then. It was utterly magical. The next thing was that the summer after I graduated high school, I worked as a library page in my local library, which I had grown up going to. A library page is sort of the lowest man on the totem pole in terms of who works in a library. And my job basically at the beginning of the day was to load up a bunch of carts with all of the books that had been returned and go and restack them in the library, which was pretty much as tedious a job as you can imagine that it was. But it was also kind of special and magical too, because I got to learn the Dewey Decimal System. I got exposed to sections of the library and books that I probably never would have seen before in my life. And it was this sort of interesting combination of utter monotony and being in a world that I absolutely loved and making these cool discoveries. But the monotony and what basically, not that being a library page is specifically a customer service job, but sort of what that is to work a sort of monotonous customer service job is something that definitely influenced Blank Page. But the whole thing started to come together when a friend of mine who was working, I think at a Barnes & Noble, I met them after work and they had had a terrible day and they said something like, "Oh, you would never believe all the drama that happens in a bookstore. Somebody should write a story about it." And for some reason out of my mouth came, "Oh, well, if you're going to write a story set in a bookstore, then all the employees should be fictional characters who haven't been written yet." And I was like, "Oh, where did that come from? That's pretty cool. I like that." And so then I started sitting and thinking about it for a while. And I was like, well, if that's the setup that you have, then the drama's got to be that somebody new shows up who doesn't know who they are. And it just so happened that that idea hit me at just the perfect time in my life. I was now an adult living in New York. I've been in the entertainment industry for forever. I started as a child actor in Los Angeles, but I was really confronting from an adult perspective everybody in this world wanting to put you in a box. And if you're not a performer, you get a lot of, what type are you? What, this, that, and the other. Well, you don't look this way. Well, you do look this way. Well, this is the energy that you give off. Well, you don't totally fit into this box, but this person does. And it's already a time in your life where you're kind of trying to own who you are as a person just in your life. But then you're also confronted with having to figure out and own who you are as an artist as well, which is a whole other thing when people are constantly telling you who you should be, who you aren't, what's wrong with you. I'm not the kind of person that easily fits into a type. And it's something that I actually really like about myself. I'm kind of a chameleon. I can play a lot of different things, just put me in a different wig and put different makeup on me, and I'm totally different. But my essence also lends itself to a lot of different stories and a lot of unusual stories. And it just so happened that I had a lot of friends who were finding themselves in the same boat. So I decided to write this story called Blank Page. And like I said, we started originally doing it as a web series. And I don't want to give too much of it away because I don't want to spoil the plot or anything, but this was a story about fitting in and about identity and not fitting in and what your story is and what our callings are, and not just what our story is, but what our essential story is, what we were sort of put on this earth to give and share and to explore and learn about. And I'm somebody who's always felt very at home in a library and a bookstore. When I was little, someone gave me a vintage Polaroid camera as a gift, and when I would check out books from the library, when I found ones that I really loved, I would take a Polaroid picture of them because I was so scared that I would forget the title or forget the author and they would be lost to the stacks and I'd never be able to find them again. And there's a character in Blank Page who does the same thing. In addition to the literary characters, authors come into the store And that's a really wonderful and fun dynamic to play with as well. But that idea of books being friends and doors into other worlds. And in Blank Page, the characters can go into the worlds of books and explore, sort of like the holodeck in Star Trek. So you get to go into the worlds of a lot of different stories, both well-loved ones and brand new ones. People that are still very, very dear to me and still collaborators and dear friends of mine. We spent many an hour in wonderful bookstores, magical bookstores in New York, specifically Left Bank Books and 𝐟𝐨𝐫𝐞 bookstore. 𝐟𝐨𝐫𝐞 is not there anymore, but it was one of the most gorgeous bookstores ever. It was just beautiful. And we filmed in there. And we got to wander through the stacks and we got to live as these characters. And it was really special and meaningful. And it's a story that I never wanted to let die. And I always wanted to share it. And it seems to be getting good response. And I'm so happy about it. So without any further ado, I'm very excited that I can finally reveal the cover to you. It's one of my favorite covers that I've ever seen, and it took us a long time to get it right. So here is the official cover for Blank Page. I really love it. I'm so excited that we found just the right thing, because this was a very difficult book to find the right cover for. And once you read the book, you'll find that there are a lot of little hidden Easter eggs in the cover artwork. And the artwork sort of also bleeds through into the interior formatting, which is just such a dream. So this is also potentially turning into a television show as well. I'll keep you posted as I have more updates on that front. But in the meantime, I'm so happy to finally be able to share with you the principal story of Blank Page. And there definitely may be sequels coming, but this is sort of the essence of the main part of the story. I love it very much. I'm so happy that these characters in this world that I love so much, I can now give to you and I can share with you. I've gotten to work with such wonderful collaborators on this project, my incredible editor and designers and everybody. The support that I've gotten for this piece means a great deal. This is one of the first stories that I really created, and it just means the world to me to finally have it out here. So thank you so much for checking it out. Make sure to subscribe so you don't miss out on any information about the rollout of this book and it coming out and special things coming up with it. Can't wait to see you at the bookstore.